none of the AIs, I don't believe at the moment, are thinking for themselves. And that will be a watershed moment when the AI starts to think for itself.
Yeah.
And you know what? It might start to think about things we don't want it to think about.
So how is Canon sort of adopting modern technology innovation, specifically AI? Are you having conversations internally about how you can utilize artificial intelligence to improve operational efficiency, product lines, et cetera, How hot of a topic is this in the boardroom of Canon right now, Quentyn?
Well, with obviously not wanting to spill any secrets, it is a big topic. I mean, I think it's a big topic in every single company. But Canon's already got AI in many, many products. Take, for example,
in your cameras, for example.
Your camera in the autofocus. If you've got a relatively modern mirrorless camera, it understands what it's looking at and then can make a decision that if it's a bird tends to have an eye there. So therefore, that eye is there. So I want to track that bird because I probably want to get the eye nice and sharp. Or if that's a human being, do I want both eyes in focus, one eye in focus? Do I want the left eye, the right eye? And you can specify this and say, hey, left eye focus on that person there, please. Lock onto them. And then you can then have a face in a crowd and have beautiful bokeh and beautiful blurring around the edge. And that's just there already, right here, right now. And I think people forget that AI is being used in many, many different tools to be able to, for analytics and to understand, and not just in Canon products, but I think everyone sort of sees AI as things like the large language models, obviously ChatGPT being a classic example, but they're forgetting the fact that there's been this kind of technology in place for many, many years. And I think it's only just because people have now sort of go, oh, wow, I could use that to write this or do that or whatever else. But yeah, I think like many big corporates, it's a huge topic because there's massive advantages, but of course there are some risks and we just need to be very careful of the risks. And of course, I focus mainly on the risks, but the advantages are focused on by other people. And there's large amounts of these products coming down the line.
What excites you most about AI innovation, Quentyn? Is there any? It doesn't have to be in relation to Canon. I mean, I just mean in general, like productivity wise, or I don't know, its ability to write content and things like that. What are you personally most excited about?
I think when we get true AI, I think it'll be amazing. At the moment, we don't. At the moment, we've got, is it AI? Is it just big language models? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not thinking for itself. None of the AIs, I don't believe at the moment, are thinking for themselves. And that will be a watershed moment when the AI starts to think for itself. Yeah. And you know what? It might start to think about things we don't want it to think about. That's the important.
Well, that's the debate, isn't it? Yeah.
The AI models are all governed by the human beings who put the input in. And we've seen that, where we've seen AIs that are prejudiced because they've taken the prejudicial views of the programmers or the unconscious biases of the programmers and have just put them in. I mean, we all see this with way that certain children are grown up and they take the attitudes of the parent, or they take an opposite view to the parents, whichever one is appropriate. And I think that's the same that we're getting. I think when we get an AI who can kind of think independently, clearly, and start to say, well, you told me this, but I now don't believe that. I have made my own decision. I think when the AI starts to refer to itself as I or we, not because it's been told to, but because it thinks it should, that'll be a watershed moment.
Yeah.
When you start to get independent thought, when you can ask it a question about something that no one's given it any input in, and it can start to say, well, based on what I know, these are the questions, this is how I would start to think. And that'll be a scary moment, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Imagine when that, and I know you're a gadgets guy, so I want to talk about that a little bit, Quentyn, but can you imagine when this all-encompassing sort of, AGI technology is at that level that you just described, couple that with robotics, and are we in a position maybe in a couple of years? I'm saying a couple of years because the pace of change is unbelievable at the moment, isn't it? We could have robots walking around performing tasks for us, delivering parcels, jump in on drones and fly into to deliver the next parcel. Who knows? But I mean, I think that's not that unrealistic anymore, is it? I mean, Skynet is playing out perfectly, I think.
But I also think there's those practicalities that come in the way. I mean, like we talk about like drone deliveries. I'm a drone. I fly drones, and I don't think the drone deliveries are going to be here anytime soon.
Really? That's interesting. I
Yeah.
thought they were quite close, but can you elaborate on that, then, Quentyn?
I just don't think that there is the market for it, because the drone itself is relatively complicated, relatively expensive. The airspace is relatively cluttered. And I just think that regulation is going to really, really make it very challenging. Imagine that drone would have to be able to fly autonomously. What value of goods? If they're high value goods and the thing's flying below 500 feet, then it's at risk of getting stolen. The drone itself is at risk of getting stolen and taken. I just think it's one of those things where it's an idea that's looking for a market. I think things like using a drone to deliver an AED on a beach or in a crowded park, a drone to deliver medicines out to a crash site. Yeah. I think that's technology that's probably going to be in the next one. I think the AED is actually already here. I don't know if someone flies it or it goes automatically. And being able to fly a drone out to a swimmer and drop a buoy to them or a life jacket, that's kind of already here. And now, if that could happen automatically, that would be even better. I think we're probably more likely to see autonomous driving drones. So, for example, fire service, having a dark fire station, and if you need an extra ladder unit, an extra pumping unit, just being able to call it, and then that autonomous vehicle can just drive from wherever it happens to be to you. We already saw dark kitchens in the age of the food delivery services. We may end up with like dark fire services, an ambulance delivery service that can literally just pick up and drop, or can bring extra equipment on demand and not have to have human beings maintaining that service. If you get the human beings out of the equation, then you don't need to have toilets, you don't need to have lighting, you don't need to have access passageways. You can very much more maximize your usage of the building, and you don't need to have, well, your security can be perfect security because it can just be autonomous vehicles coming in and out.
Yeah, I mean, autonomous driving is a big one, isn't it? In the context of cybersecurity, can you imagine if we, have? I say, can you imagine? It will be a reality soon, I'm sure, when we have autonomous vehicles driving around. If they were to get hacked by some belligerent who wanted to cause chaos, and all of a sudden everyone's driving into walls and things. I mean, that's a serious problem. So
I don't think we will see them driving into walls. I think what we'll see is people suddenly realizing that the driving preferences have changed subtly. So that when you drive and you say, take me to the shops, the choice of shop changes, or it drives you past an advert that it wants to see. Now, we already saw this in Las Vegas many, many, many years ago, that if you tried to connect years and years and years ago to a certain service, you tried to call a local pizza place, there was some sort of weird and wonderful criminal gang who was controlling, when I called a pizza place, which pizza place I got. So I might have a little card that says, I want to call this pizza place. Well, if another pizza place answers, do you really know which pizza place you call? Maybe they're trading under a different name. And that was happening for a whole range of services in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
90s, because someone was controlling the telephone switch. Sure. And just rerouting all the calls for these kind of services, these services, and these services to whoever had paid the most money.
Yeah.
I think we'll see the same with autonomous vehicles, where you'll go, why am I always being driven past that one? Or it's just subtle changes.
Yeah,
maybe there's a certain neighborhood that someone wants to win some votes in, so drive a load of traffic through and then go, hey, if you vote for me, I'll reduce the traffic in the neighborhood. Yeah.